popping in. Hey, thanks, Brian. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. All right. So I'm calling this the September 15th meeting of the Building Reuse, Building Design, whatever you want to call us this week, committee. We have met before. This is a lot of several new folks. We've been requested by the select board to continue our quest with trying to develop a town building for the town administration and school administration. So what I'll do is I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, let me talk a little bit about the change in makeup of the meeting, of the group. It's still going to be the three folks at large, which would be myself. Christina, I'm hoping you're going to continue with us as one of our at-large people, which I'll assume by being on this meeting that you do.
Yes, yes.
And Greg, the same with you. And then the other meeting was we had a member of the select board, which is going to be Brian. We have a member of the school committee, which is Laura. We have a member of the planning, which is Matt, a member of finances, which is Tom. And then there is going to be also Chris Ruth, who is the facilities director for town buildings, also joining in this thing. And Tony is also now a full-time member for the as member of the architectural review committee. Is that what the official committee name is, Tony?
It's Architectural Preservation District Commission.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that took too much out of me.
Yeah.
All right, not a problem at all. So that's kind of the makeup is a little bit different, but a lot the same. We really feel we have better buy-in this time from committees and from other folks. So I guess let's see. I guess my first thing on the agenda was to talk about that, folks and departments involved. And next, I'm going to look at since we do have a quorum, seeing if you want to talk about who any of you folks want to be chair on this thing, or have any thoughts on a chairperson for this thing.
I nominate Dave Blatt to be chair.
I second that.
Get him before he says no.
Get it quickly.
I kind of felt this was coming, and I will be doing, let's just say I'll be doing Zoom meetings through the fall and winter, most of the fall and winter this way if I do it, but I'm happy to do the chair. I definitely, as a longstanding resident of Lunenburg, I would like to see this happen. I think this is the most overdue project that this town has, and we need to have something happen to this for this town. We deserve it as a town. So I'll take the chair. For vice chair,
I'd like to ask if Mr. Scullambrini would be interested in doing vice chair.
Can we a roll call vote? I was thinking we should probably have.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
Sorry.
I needed. See, that's why I wonder why people make me chair, because I'll never pay attention to those rules. Okay, so roll call vote on the chair. I'm going to go in the order that I see it on the screen. Greg.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Christina.
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
And Tony.
Aye.
All right. Excellent. So I guess I will happily accept the chair. And there's been a nomination for Tony for vice chair.
Well, I don't know if I nominated him yet. I don't want to put him on the spot. I just wondered if he would accept the nomination.
I would.
Okay. Then I would nominate Mr. Scullambrini for vice chair.
Second.
Oh man, Mr. Gray is quick with those seconds today.
I just don't want it to be me.
All right.
That's funny. That's great.
Okay. So we have anybody else that would like to step up as vice chair to challenge Mr. Scullambrini? I saw everybody took a step back. So I'm going to go around the horn the other way. I'll start with myself. I'm going to say a yay. I'll go with Matt.
Aye.
Christina.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
And Greg.
Aye.
All right, great. I know these meetings are being recorded as well as translated with AI. Do we still want to do a clerk for the group?
I think we have to do one
Yeah.
legally.
Yeah, we're supposed to have a clerk.
All right. Anybody like that would like the position of clerk?
We
Is there
have
any, is
so
there
we
any?
have someone who,
Go ahead. Sorry. Ray.
so we have someone who types the minutes, correct?
We do. Well, yeah, it's Brian Leighton.
Right.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is there any expectation that we might get a minutes clerk? I mean, I know is that still on the table? Does anybody know?
I have no idea
Yeah.
on that one.
I can't imagine Brian has any more time than he had before he got elected to the select board, so.
You know, if Laura's not here, we can nominate her, right? I'm just kidding. I say that very tongue in cheek. That would be my luck.
I mean, can we elect I mean, this is just a thought, but can we elect a clerk but be diligent about at the beginning of the meeting? Can we just rotate this? I mean, if we all just take one of them, then we might be doing like one meeting every 3 months or something.
Even less.
Just
I'm
to
not,
spread
yeah.
it out, just
Yeah.
to spread. I mean, I could do it. I just can't. I can't do it every time I mean, I've never taken a look at an AI transcript from Zoom, but I can imagine that you're going to have to parse it out. It's going to take some time to whittle it down. I mean, I'm willing to step up and do some meetings, but I can't do every single one of them. There's just that's setting myself up for failure.
Okay.
But I mean,
well,
I could do, if we wanted to kind of commit to this as a group, that's a suggestion. We need a clerk. We have to do someone that's maybe ceremonial, but we could offer to just kind of rotate the minutes somehow.
Matt,
That's just a thought.
the first time I ever saw an AI translation was on a planning board. What's your experience been with the quality of the AI companion on Zoom?
I can't tell you through firsthand experience because the planning board has the luxury of a dedicated admin assistant. So they are always the one who writes our minutes, and that's good because I should not be trusted with minutes. That is like the exact wrong kind of task for me. But not that if we were splitting, I'd suck it up and take my turn. Don't get me wrong. My wife has very high praise for it for when she's used it. But I don't have firsthand experience.
Greg, I would be willing to take my turn too, just as you have suggested. And but we need to do a little research on how to take the AI, transcript. And I will take that on because I want to figure it out for my role as the chair of the Architectural Preservation District Commission. I want to learn how difficult it is to go from AI companion transcript to a set of meeting minutes. So I will take that task on to see how difficult it would be. And I'm hoping that what I would suggest for tonight's meeting, Dave, is that we not elect the clerk.
correct.
Yeah.
At this
Well,
point, and then I would report back at the next meeting. This is what it means to do meeting minutes from an AI companion transcription.
This is
I'm okay.
I've been able to use some of the AI transcripts. Sometimes they send it to me. Sometimes I don't get it. So sometimes I'm able to use AI and do a decent job there too. So I can continue working on it. It's fine. If it's not a quick, nobody wants it, then I'll just keep it going.
Brian, I'm okay with deferring it to the next meeting. Actually,
let's punt.
Laura's joined. I'm sorry, Rhonda and Karen, are you just kind of listening in, or is there a specific role that you have with the town that you want to be part of this?
It's probably Dave Rogers, I'm guessing.
Oh, gotcha.
It might be Karen, but I've seen Dave
Pop in. Okay.
pop in before.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll let them stay anonymous then. I think that. So yeah, I'll look at it as let's investigate the AI and we could talk about a clerk next meeting. I'm okay with that. I don't want to take up too much time with that.
That sounds good.
Okay, all right. So I'll move on to committee charter moving forward. So with the direction of the select board, the idea was that we would relook at buildings and relook at different things. So what we found, and kind of simplify the project a lot. So the idea here is that the sentiment was, there was a lot of sentiment that, town hall, school administration building was probably not the best location for ACE. A 13-foot basement was probably not the best idea for PAC, and things of that sort. And then just looking at how we set up the town. I think Jen, as the new town manager, has a different feeling than what Heather might have had. And I also would like to be able to talk to, the superintendent, to be able to, and things of that sort. So our charter now is to basically look at, we have these folks that we need to house. We have town administration, school administration, ACE, and PAC. And it's how well can we house these folks? How well can we keep a project in budget? And how well can we make this something that's really worthwhile? Christina, you got a question or hand up?
Yeah, no, it's so why are we still 100% moving forward with PAC and ACE, or is that something that will be decided after talking to the new town manager and superintendent?
So the idea is that we are still going to look, I'll talk about it a little bit, but we're still going to look to have a place, if possible, to have a place for ACE and PAC. And I think, and we believe there is a place for both of them already. It just wasn't where we were sticking them in town hall. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Clarifying question, if I may.
Sure.
We think there is a place for them, but not in town hall, but not the way it was thought to be in town hall.
We think there's a place for them, but not in town hall.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Neither one of them should be in. They're not in the administration building. And,
I get that.
And both of them added a lot of dollars to the project, type of thing. Okay. So the thought was to keep the project simple, to make it, when we did our investigation, we found that the renovation of certain, we got good numbers for renovations of certain buildings, like, making town hall, the present town hall, making it tight, making it safe, I should say safe, and ready for another 100 years. We got comments about the old Ritter building, what it was necessary in the old Ritter building and things of that sort. So I think we have a decent basis. And what we found was those costs weren't that bad. It was, a lot of it had to do with the new building, and a huge cost was new stuff for that new building. So the thought is that we're going to look to reuse a lot of what we have, and basically just make this a project that cost-wise comes in and that works for everybody in town. That kind of thing. So I'd like to have an open discussion about, ideas and things of that sort. I'd like to start as the chair. Well, actually, one of the other things that was talked about is, and I'm going to throw this towards Mr. Gray, is that understanding from the finance committee what they feel, or what this town feels, is a reasonable budget for this project. So we've always worked on, here's a project, and then at the end we're told by the town the budget is too much. The thought is to have the buy-in from the finance and town select board and town manager saying, yes, that type of project makes sense based on our present fiscal situation here in town. So I'm not looking for an answer, right? But in the next few meetings, Tom, if that's something that you might be able to have a discussion with the finance committee, based on debt, that would be very helpful.
Yeah. Well, we have plenty of room in our budget as far as the limits on debt. We have plenty of room, for this particular project. The question is, and also the question will be, as we, look into things like what's the school, the Turkey Hill issues and what we're going to do with the other buildings and renovations of other buildings. That's it. So I don't think the cost that we were talking about at the last annual meeting was an issue for the finance committee as far as, we can't afford it. It's not within the guidelines that we have, that the town has set. It was fine. So it's, I think from just my perspective, that it was too much. The cost was too great for the town, for the voters. And they didn't like, for whatever reason, they didn't like the way it was set up. So,
Okay.
so I think the question would be, is for me at least, is how can we get the cost down while still providing, as you mentioned, an upgrade for the town, the school, PAC, ACE, and I guess that's it, right?
Yeah. All right. And so I do believe there is a path. Okay. So I'm going to jump into, I'm going to jump into some of my thoughts, and I'd like to, bounce off of other folks, because obviously everybody who's been on this committee for a while has some thoughts about what did and what didn't. The biggest thing we have is I really feel like we messed up in a couple of ways. One is, as a committee, we gave it to somebody else to tell us to interview the people in town, the people, whether it was town administration, whether it was school administration. And what they were told is they were told what they wanted. And I think it's more, I think as a committee, we need to do the interviewing. I'd like to have us as a committee to be able to come out of this thing with, okay, we've talked to people, we understand how the dynamics in the town and how the town administration and school administration works. And this is what we feel is the best plan moving forward. And a lot of that is through us as townspeople understanding how a day in the life of somebody at town hall works, and a day in the life of somebody who's visiting town hall works, and a day in the life of a contractor going to town hall to get permits works, and things like that. Same thing with the school. We need to understand that. So I'm going to look as a group that we spend time visiting with the visiting town hall, taking a walk through ourselves, taking a walk through the Ritter building, taking a walk through the Brooks house, and understanding those three buildings of what they look like, what the condition is today, and what they could do. The other side of it is we're going to be I'd like to invite, or at least meet with the head of the different departments in town, and then meet with some of the administration folks and talk about their dynamic of work, of how they like to work, who needs to work together, who needs not to, and things of that sort. So as an example, what my thought is that, how if you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, there's somebody standing there, looks at your paperwork or asks you what you're here for, and says either, here, fill out this form, or here's a letter, or whatever, you got to meet with such and such. So the idea would be is that in town hall, you would first come up to a reception desk. That reception desk could either hand you a piece of paper for a permit you needed, direct answer your question if it's something simple, or call somebody down or call somebody over who can meet in a small meeting room with you to discuss your issue or what you have going on. What that does is it makes the flexibility of when somebody's on vacation if somebody has to be on sick leave, if somebody leaves, we have other people in town who could step up to that role. It's a role that all of them should have, especially with all the online experiences that we have. There should be less and less need for going into town hall and having, an interaction. The same could be said for the school. It could be now more done the same way. It's more of a bullpen strategy where there's a bullpen with cubicles, say, in the middle. There are offices on the side for those who need an office. And it could be done in a very flexible way with the minor expense going in. So my vision for town hall would be that we would keep the Ritter building as is. The annex, which I think was the dumbest thing ever built, because somebody designed it with 5 steps up so that it was not on the same level as the basement of Ritter, and then 5 steps up because it's not on the same level as the first floor of Ritter. So whoever designed that annex either must have been the 60s and they were doing something funky, or they just didn't know anything about, how to design a building. So I'd like to see the annex taken down. I'd like to see a building put up that could be exactly that, whether it's the first floor is split between school and town of the administration functions, like the functions that would interact with people. And the second floor could be with folks who need the closed offices, more the management teams and things like that, could be up on the second floor and things of that sort. The first floor would be at the basement level of the present Ritter. The second, so that this way we didn't have to worry about handicap. You can just go straight into town hall. Maybe it's 1 step up if somebody's worried about rain. And then the second floor would be equal to today's Ritter. What right now is the building assistant's office, the one that is the old Ritter's front door. I would make that into the cafeteria with doors that open up to a courtyard out there, and then having steps that go down to a second level. And that could be where the band concert would be. The band would be on those 2 levels. You would have handicapped access still that way, or handicapped another way. It would be now making that front of the Ritter building a showpiece for the town, and a place for everything to happen inside. As far as town hall today, the second floor where we have the selectmen's meeting, I've heard time and time again from every single board that meets there that everybody hates the stage. So I'm going to give the second floor to PAC. I'm going to say to PAC that you already have a editing room in there. You can now have your 13-foot ceilings. And then the first floor of the town hall would be an open area that would be allowed to have the select board and other meeting rooms with movable walls. So if you wanted to have 4 meetings in there, you can move the walls and have 4 meetings. If you had a big meeting because, we're having a 40B move in, or we have something going on with the in town that the select board's now going to have 40 people there, they can open the walls and have a big meeting hall. But once again, we can make it so that it's handicapped access and things like that. This would allow us to only have to do 1 elevator in town hall, 1 elevator in the Ritter building, and then Ace would go to the Brooks house. And the Brooks house is perfect for Ace. It has a kitchen already. It has another room. It's part of the school campus right now. And that's the only thing I come up with. So that's my quick thoughts on what I would, what I'm like to see us moving forward. Would anybody else like to step up with their thoughts?
I had a quick question for Tony. The Ritter building, is there any issues with tearing down the newer section of that?
No.
Okay.
In fact, I think that the annex is the place for us, the 1965 annex is the place for us to create what new space might be required, as Dave has mentioned. And I was all for that, because that would allow us to eliminate this whole business of split levels between the existing annex and the existing Ritter. You know, the architect never really got the dimension of that problem in the proposal that they brought back to us. You know, so I think that the way you fix that is to do something like what Dave has suggested. Get rid of the annex, restart, put it at the right elevation, put an elevator in there so you can service basement, you know, upper levels as required. You know, you may even be required to put another elevated level so that the new annex would have a roof line that's at the same height of Ritter existing annex or Ritter existing roof line. You know, the Architectural Preservation District Commission, we will be thrilled with the idea of having the ACE program in the Brooks House. And I can tell you from conversations that I've had with Jen, our town manager, she thinks that's a great idea too. And I've heard from the program manager that, you know, the whole idea behind ACE is to train young adults on how to live independently in a house. And we have a house. Now, does the Brooks House need some renovation work? Yes, absolutely. You know, so I think that, you know, a lot of what Dave has mentioned, I'm completely on board with. The idea of putting PAC on the second floor and moving the select board down, that makes it so much easier for both organizations. Now, it would require us to put an elevator in so that PAC can move their equipment, you know, from the street level upstairs, because they do have a lot of stuff that they have to move. But they're already there. You know, they already have, you know, their Comcast connection, you know, to the world of cable TV. And, you know, so a lot of the expenses associated with running PAC, they're already in place at Town Hall. And then for our senior citizens, the idea of, you know, just walking in at kind of a ground level approach to attend a select board meeting or other meetings, I completely agree with what Dave has said about that. You know, so I think there's ways of making this project much less expensive. But one of the things that all right, so that's the answer to your question, Tom, is that we can do that.
Mute,
I'm-
Dave.
Tony, since you started, you want to your thoughts on?
Yeah, here's my I agree with probably 90% of what you said, Dave. The one thing that I really want us to do, though, and this is going to come from my experience of working as the current vice chair of the Master Plan Steering Committee and our efforts to look at a plan for the town for the next 10 years. You know, we've had a lot of discussion in the Master Plan Steering Committee world with the consultant. And one of the things that comes through loud and clear is that we believe the town wants to see a plan for capital projects, which this is what I think. I agree with you once again, Dave. I think this is our #1 capital improvement project. But we have others. And while we had debt ceiling for this project, do we have enough debt ceiling to allow us to do this and Turkey Hill? Because I don't think Turkey Hill is that far away from needing, you know, a major renovation. You know, so I want us to look at all of the town's major capital projects. You know, what's been interesting to me is that every year the Capital Improvements Committee spends an incredible amount of time talking about spending $2 million worth of town money. And I think that what we really need to do with this committee is to look at the debt ceiling issue and figure out what's the priorities for us going into debt, you know, for these larger capital improvement projects. So that's the one piece that I want to bring to the table, because I've heard that in the Master Plan Steering Committee discussions, is that everybody wants to see, how does the town administrative project compare with Marshall Park, compare with things like Turkey Hill, compare with things like improvements to the Lunenburg Teen Club. You know, that's one I just heard recently, is that, oh, you know, the teen club says they need more stuff. How do we deal with TC Passios? We know there's a requirement to do some things at TC Passios. You know, we had a $300,000 item that showed up on a special town meeting for repairing the roof. Do we really need to repair that roof, or do we need to tear down parts of TC Passios and keep pieces? So my pitch is that let's look at this initially in kind of a let's look at it strategically, so that we can then take the tactical issue of town administrative functions, are what I believe is the town's #1 priority for a capital improvement project. It's going to cost more than a couple $1,000,000, so that we can say to them, we got a plan, but this is the first piece in that plan. And then I think that if we do that, even with a $10 million price tag, if we say to them, yeah, this is the first component of capital projects that have to happen for Lunenburg, I think we'll be successful in selling this. You know, I thought it was absolutely insane for us to bring a $22 million project for the town administrative functions. At the same time, we were bringing a Marshall Park project, you know, to the town for a vote. And really, what's the priority? And we never, as a group, said, these are our priorities. You know, you have a limited amount of money that the taxpayers can support, and you need to present to them a plan that says, this is #1, this is #2, this is #3. Now, they might change over a period of time, but I think that you have to at least take that approach in order to sell this project to the voters. That's my 2 cents worth. Dave, I completely agree with what you talked about in terms of a footprint for the Ritter, you know, for moving PAC upstairs, moving select board downstairs. I completely agree with that. But I think we need to step back and take a bit of a master plan approach to our projects, especially given the fact that, you know, we're going to present to the town at special town meeting kind of an outline of what the master plan update is going to look like. It's not, it won't be completely finished. We're going to have another session with the public on October 22nd. But when we get to the special town meeting in November, we want to be able to say, here's the plan update. And oh, by the way, we see that having town facilities kind of ranked and prioritized is something that's important. So with that, I'd like to ask, since Matt's been a big part of the master plan project, maybe his 2 cents worth would come next.
Sure. 1 sec. Okay. Master plan, I mean, in some ways, I don't disagree with anything Tony has said in any major way. I'm a little cautious only in making sure that we have if we're going to be relying on some of the master planning ideas, that kind of sets us back a little further. And I'm worried about that and our debt limit, because we really should be, we have available debt we should be borrowing, which sounds aggressive, but I just mean that in the context of, if you let the amount of debt you can borrow keep going up and then we borrow all of it at once, that's one big hit to everybody, as opposed to kind of cycling and revolving things through. No, I think it makes sense to look at that. I have, hearing Dave's thoughts, a lot of it makes sense to me. I have a few broad concerns with what I've seen in the town that I think are addressable, but I think need to be there, and a few practical ones. One is, I don't know anything about the way town hall is constructed as the ancient building it is. So I'm wondering if that first floor can be an open enough space. And I'm also wondering if this, as much as we might not need super high ceilings, I wonder if the ceilings there are, because I can't think of it off the top of my head, if they're high enough to take that larger space and not have it feel hard to use. I'm not an anti-stage person myself, but that's me. Because I think it makes the committee easier to visibly to see, and I think that's relevant too. But that's largely neither here nor there. I was wondering about that. I can tell you from capital planning, I admit I get real scared when I hear us talk about using the Brooks House for anything. And I'm happy. I would be thrilled to be proven wrong because it's a beautiful building. I'd love to see the town maintain it. But the thought on capital planning has been for a very long time that that building needs a lot of money put into it to remain used. And now if we have, if the people having this idea know those estimates and it kind of works with then everything, great. That's wonderful because I see all the benefits of Brooks House for the ACE program. But I'm a little worried that I'm worried the cost on Brooks House has gotten to the point that it may just not be usable for us in the long run. Happy, thrilled to be proven wrong on that. Those are kind of my high level thoughts and concerns. I have some concerns about the bullpen model as well, but I think that will come out more when we talk to the town employees. I've been in the office enough to have a good idea how at least Ritter works. I'm not sure the bullpen model is compatible, but again, I'm happy to be wrong on that. And I think talking to the employees and getting that flow, because we do have fewer people coming in because of online applications and everything, but it really isn't zero. Tony, what did you want from me specifically on master plan and my thoughts in that direction? Because I kind of spoke very broadly.
I was looking for, shouldn't the master plan be addressing our kind of comprehensive capital projects?
Yes. In an ideal world, the master plan should be giving us goals.
Right.
And then it's kind of up to it gives us goals and some recommendations on how to achieve those goals. Yes, that should include the big capital projects. Full agreement on that. There's going to be a lot of how that implementation works that by definition has to be left to groups and committees like this and the town professionals to handle. No, ideally that should have a vision for it, but it's also understood and has been understood through that process that the master plan is being built. You're building the train as it's running down the tracks to a certain extent. Or in the master plan's case, you're planning the next iteration of the train and they're planning to improve it as it's moving. So it's understood that, and like Rami has asked us frequently, the head for our consultants, okay, what is the municipal building design committee looking at? Because if they have a direction, that's what we should probably work into the master plan. So I think we feed them and they feed us. And I think the most important thing there is going to be that open line of communication.
Matt, I completely agree with your comment about we should be borrowing. It's as strange as that sounds, it really is something that makes sense because you don't want to drop, $150 million worth of construction projects, on the town voters, on the taxpayers. And this goes back to I think that we need to start out with a strategic view. We looked at all these projects, Marshall Park, Turkey Hill, improvements to the Brooks House, town administrative functions. So we looked at this and we think that we could do a $150 million project, but then that would kill all you voters and all you taxpayers. But this is our number one priority, funnel it down into, this is the first project. And the sooner we get done with this first project, the quicker we get to go to the second, the third, the fourth projects. And I think that's been missing in this discussion. Really, there's competition for these types of construction dollars. But there should be a sense of priority about, what comes first. I mean, I don't think anybody would disagree that town hall looks like crap and it needs to be cleaned up and it needs to be fixed. I mean, we need to do that. But I think everybody else would say, well, what's next? Is it Marshall Park or is it Turkey Hill? I don't know the answer to that question. I think that that's part of what we should do initially is to kind of put some sense of priority into this. Because I think that's what the master planning process should do for us too.
So Tony, I'll look at that. I do feel that if it as a thing, I don't feel that this committee should be as much looking at everything. I think we should be aware of. I'm going to defer that master plan would help. But even if the idea was that in such and such date, we'd look to be looking at doing the town hall, we're looking at doing the town administration. At such and such date, we would be doing Marshall Park. At such and such date, we foresee a Turkey Hill or something like that. Just even if it's like saying, oh, within the next 10 years, somewhere between 7 and 10 years from now, Turkey Hill will be coming up as in the discussion. If something like, if in somewhere between 3 and 5 years, 2 and 4 years from now, Marshall Park would be coming up, and looking at this as first priority. So I think that would help to, just even having that a plan, showing people that there is a long-term plan in place would go a long way to the voters. Instead of we did that once, and what we did is this town, some of you guys weren't here at that time, but when I first came to this town, they talked about doing all of the buildings at once. It was going to be the elementary, the new primary school, the public safety building, the DPW, the Ritter, and all that stuff.
Library.
And of course, the library. Yep. And everything was going to be like a huge price tag. So of course, everybody said no. Well, the price tag for, one building alone, since we waited 10 years, was the same as that price tag for all those buildings. So, it's just one of those things. We have a history of this town of putting a Band-Aid on things. I think it's the idea is now let's come up with a long-term health strategy to keep the town alive, not just wait for it to be sick and then, try to do symptoms to the cause. So I'm going to let me go. I mean, Matt, was there anything else that you wanted to add? Because I wanted to still get around the room.
No, the only other thing I would add quickly, it's actually, Dave, to what you just said, is I think it would, as we start to get an idea for where we want to go with this, I think we're going to want to get real aggressive on the PR front, on reaching
Yes.
out on the communication front with the townspeople to have the way we typically handle communication in town isn't sufficient. And we're not alone in that. That's a problem for modern municipal governments because information transfer is so siloed, where it used to be you only had 1 or 2 avenues you really had to pursue. So I think that needs to be a part of our plan going forward as well, is how we're going to keep people up to date and help them feel included in the process. So when we're getting in front of the voters eventually, we don't have people saying, oh, but I don't like that arc. Because I was sitting at town meeting and I heard people saying, oh, that I don't like that architecture. And I'm like, the time for your opinion about the nature of the siding of the building is really that if you had that opinion, it should have been voiced a million years ago. So I think we're going to want to be thoughtful about how we're getting that in front of people. I don't have all the answers, but I'm working on some of that because I need it in planning too, to be frank.
Okay, Matt, and I agree with you 100%. I think anybody who was on the committee before knows that it really feels like that's where we really blew it. We didn't get it. We didn't have the town on board, at least the people who show up at town meeting on board to start with. Do I my next contestant to step up and talk about what they're thinking?
But I can go.
All right, Greg, go ahead.
I appreciate your your thoughts on this. I think it's clear you've done a lot of thinking on this. Same thing with Tony. And I don't necessarily disagree with much of what you said. I'm a civil engineer. Personally, for me, I think there's a lot of different ways we can skin the architectural cat that I would be satisfied with, but I'm not an architect, so I don't disagree with any of the, sort of things that you're spitballing. I think, I think specifically a couple things came to mind as you were talking, Dave. I think that we should be careful before we make, and I think you're on board with this, but I just want to say it out loud that I think that some of the things you were saying about pivoting to a more bullpen style type of thing, I think it's been said by Matt as well, that that is a really, in my opinion, is a policy decision that needs to come down from the the town, the town department heads or the town manager's office or something, and we need to follow suit. So I think that our committee, we might be making suggestions with these kind of things, but I think ultimately we're implementing a program in terms of the way the building is going to flow, whether it's a bullpen uh, type of program or something more like what we have now. I think personally that the town departments need to drive on that, and we need to take our cues from them. But I don't disagree at all that I think we should be going back and interviewing people. I think that was a very good comment. Whether we invite them here to this meeting, like one by one, kind of like what finance committee does, through the budget through the budget season, they invite the different departments to come in and give a presentation. Maybe we do that, or maybe we go to them. I don't know, but I think you're right on there. Um, I think that taking a side of the program, you know, we we pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed on that, and I don't disagree with that at all. I would love to get a recent tour. I would love to get a tour of Brooks House. I have not been in that building for a long, long time, probably since the Conservation Commission was meeting in there when I was on the Conservation Commission, which was probably 15 plus
Pre-COVID.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see what that building's like. Not that I'm gonna have any I'm not I'm not the expert in how much. I'm not gonna be able to take a look at it and say, oh yeah, that's $500,000, so that's $750,000, but it'd be nice just to see it. I know we've quote mothballed it, but it'd be nice to go in and see it if we can. But I don't disagree that's a reasonable use for that, provided that we can do it for a price tag that is, that's reasonable. I'm not certain on that. Um, and I think that the thought about moving pack to the second floor of town hall makes a lot of sense. High ceilings, it kind of gives them what they want. I think we might have some obstacles there with parking and loading and that kind of thing, but provided we can overcome those type of obstacles. I mean, they don't have right now, I guess they're still in TC Passios. Is that true? Or so now
Yes.
they kind of they have a kind of a dedicated garage and loading dock. So I mean, we'll have to work through some probably logistical issues with them, but it's not an unreasonable idea. Um, and then all the comments that Mr. Scalabrini had about master planning, I completely agree with. I think I put that in the category of uh, not that I'm trying to dodge it. I just don't think that's the charge of this committee. I think that we are tasked with coming up with this portion of the plan and that someone else needs to prioritize it for us. Now, I'm not trying to say we should operate in a vacuum. We should know what the priority is because that's going to inform our decisions process. I completely agree with that. But I don't think personally that that's the charge of this committee presently, unless someone wants to give it to us. But I think that maybe the master planning committee is appropriate. Maybe it's a master planning committee with input from the select board. Maybe it's a select board with input from the master planning committee or someone else. But I think that is a definitely a big piece when we go to present it. I just don't know that should be our committee's sole focus. I think we need to have it in view, but I'm not sure that that's on our task list to put together, I guess is my thought on that. Um, um, and then I just would be curious to see, I guess, I guess it sounds to me like what you're thinking about, Dave, is a um kind of spending a pretty significant amount of time, you know, reassessing facts and reassessing, you know, kind of doing that, reassessing the data. I guess I'd be interested. I feel like we should probably spend some time kind of mapping out the steps and agreeing as a group. I think that's one of the things that we didn't do last time is we had this real condensed schedule. We all knew it. It didn't give us a lot of time to vet things. It certainly didn't give us a lot of time for PR as Matt suggested. And I think, and Dave, you said no one on this committee thinks we did a great job with PR. Did we do some? Yeah, but we didn't do what we were. I think all of us had a higher expectation of what PR and public outreach would have looked like as part of the process. So I almost think that maybe somewhere early on, we should really sort of map out like, well, we want to spend this much time doing this and this much time doing this. And this information is a predecessor for this and kind of just put together a little bit of a workflow for ourselves as we move through the process, which will inform, you know, when we might need to get some other people involved. I mean, how would you view, I guess my question in this process is, I think there's a lot of this fact-finding stuff we can do ourselves, reevaluation we can do ourselves, but at the end of the day, we're going to need some professional help eventually. And I guess, you know, we'll need to think about that in terms of timing and things as well. So that's all for now.
Okay. All right, excellent. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. Our next contestant. Anybody like to step up? Have any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I'll go.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Laura.
I wanted to, I really like Dave's thoughts. I know I had actually sent an email before I was on this committee talking about the Ritter building the stairs, turning it back into a balcony and using that lawn as for band concerts and that kind of thing. So I was really happy to hear that because I do think we could use it like that. Sorry, my kids. I also definitely agree. I'd like to go back to basics. I'm new to the committee, which makes this a little, I feel weird asking for it, but I do like the idea of going back to basics and reassessing the needs that were asked for and separating out the needs and the wants when it comes to town hall and workflow and what, you know, what's ideal and what are we currently doing and what could we get away with. I don't want to turn this project into nobody's happy and we've cut it way down, but I do think that it would be really beneficial to go into town hall and the various offices and observe how the processes work right now and talk to the people working there about how they would like the processes to go or change and see how much of what they're doing is dictated by the space constraints and what they would like to change. And because right now they're really making do with not a lot. And I think we need to separate out the needs from the wants while still getting something that works better. And I think that's about it. I'm very much a fan of going back to basics. Oh, and I also wanted to say, I'd like it if we could look at other towns halls and maybe I had talked to the town manager, Jen. Maybe we could go to our other town halls and maybe recently renovated ones and see what those offices are like and what their workflows are like and what their space demands are as well. I'd be interested in that too. Okay.
Okay. And by the way, Laura, that was a suggestion from Jen as well. She once we get further along to be able to start looking at other town halls and you know, getting ideas. But I agree. The idea would be the interview process first. Like, let's get the interviews and get a feel, and then seeing how other town halls are working as well. You know,
yeah. And I'd like to see them in their space, like to physically picture it. Instead of, it always feels weird when departments come here and, you know, make the presentations about what they need. I'd like more candidness, and I'd like to see how the space physically is working for them, because I do think that affects the workflow and how things are happening. So I think that would be very helpful.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Laura.
I have a reasonable relationship with several town halls around, as you might imagine. So not all of them. But you know, I would think Groton, you know, Acton, Littleton, you know, some of these, if you wanted to go to, I could probably facilitate a tour. So let me know when the time's right.
You got it. Well, let's figure that. I agree. Let's get some ideas. I'd like to see something new, something that was built in the past, say, 5 years, and what they decided to do, type of thing, out of a town roughly our size. But
I'd like to see renovated too. I'd like
Right.
to see some spaces that were historic and renovated.
Yeah.
And maybe some towns that are not super wealthy. I know that when we look for influence, sometimes we tend to go east. And I think it might be beneficial for us to also look west.
okay, excellent. Okay, thanks, Laura. Brian, I guess you were ready to step up there.
Yeah, hearing a lot of great ideas. I agree with most of it. I do think it would be important to bring in the finance committee, maybe even just the finance committee chair, to have that discussion about the numbers and what it would look like, and can the town actually afford it, and also incorporating what potentially could happen with Turkey Hill in the future too, kind of get a dynamic of how we could present that, or how the town could present that to the citizens. I think it's important to have a plan for the Brooks House. I like the idea of ACE, somebody using the Brooks House. I think that's I think one of the big things is a change from what we did in the last vote. And I think trying to get that feedback from the citizens and making those changes, like the Brooks House, the town hall, having someone maybe in the town hall, like a PAC, if that works, having those conversations with PAC to see if that's feasible to have PAC in the town hall, lowering the cost, trying to find a better design and a smaller design so we can also lower the cost as well. Having that community outreach and those forums, I think, would be a good idea too. Trying to get some feedback from citizens as well. At this point, I think it makes sense to do the roof at the TCP. I know that it's being used by multiple groups, and I think that was they changed what area they wanted to fix on the roof, and I think it's more for the active areas, but I think that probably makes sense. And that was it for the most part.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Dave,
Right, yep. Tommy, you
have
stepping
you
up?
got everybody? Because I
Nope.
want to
Nope,
talk about
Mr. Gray, anything? And Christina, anything you'd like to add?
This is Tom. I just wanted to say, first of all, the finance committee did look. Chris went back, and I'm not sure if he dealt with the town accountant, but went through the numbers. And with the original plan, the 22 million plus the park plan and the work on Turkey Hill, over, using some assumptions, interest rates and terms, and when we do it, we would be fine as far as the percentages. So I think we're at a very low state house. We have a lot. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I do agree with Matt on the Brooks House. I remember we had, and this I don't know, it was a decade ago, we had all those different reports that we had, task or whatever it was called. And the work on the Brook House was pretty substantial. And since these were numbers from 10 years ago, it's probably twice, 3 times, 4 times. So we're talking lots of money to fix that. But again, maybe that's worth it. I don't know. But I agree that that's a concern I had. Second thing, the interviewing of the departments. I would recommend that we get the town manager and the superintendent involved. I don't want one department of the town saying, "Well, I want this," and another department saying that, without really unifying it under the town manager and the superintendent to make sure that they're speaking from one voice. So I think you would want to get the town manager, the superintendent together to either work with this committee or to get that. To get a unified message from those departments, because I don't know what the needs are, and I think that's kind of the town manager and the superintendent's job to kind of know what their people need. And if that means asking, that's what they need to do. Finally, I agree with most of the things that were said as far as the buildings and so on. So I think I think as far as long-term views, I agree with Greg that that's probably not within our scope. However, I think it's important that we kind of, that somebody does deal with that. If we do this and we do, and it includes the Brooks House, what's the next thing? It's probably Turkey Hill. Maybe, I don't know. But if it is, well, then what comes after that? Well, it's probably going to be the primary school, but could it be the police and fire building? Maybe it's that, because these buildings are getting older and they're going to need renovations. And are these capital items, or are these things that we're going to have to borrow on? So these are things that I don't know the answers to, but I think we should have, at least the town should have, a plan of what our expectations are. Maybe not a detail of what happens to the primary school and so on, but just to know what do we think we're going to need, what kind of things we'll need.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Christina, thoughts? A lot has been going on.
So, yeah. I guess my question is, how much input are we gonna let others have? Because I remember PAC being somewhat demanding with what they were expecting and getting. So yes, I do like the idea of having input from those on the outside, but at what point do we say no, it is or isn't going to work? Like, I think we kind of have to, when we talk to certain people, like, say, hey, we are thinking of putting like town hall to the town manager in the Ritter. Like, this is a space we're giving. And, see what she comes up with that, and kind of comes back to us and say, we're short 10,000 square feet. I'm making it up for X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't think we should be giving people the unlimited space. And I am very worried PAC is going to say no to being on the second floor. And also, will the building structurally be able to hold the equipment on the second floor? There might have to be some happy medium where we like have storage on the first floor or in the base. I know the basement's kind of rough, but not having them bring everything up. For the Brooks House, I stand by my statement I made last time we talked about it. Town, burn it, do something with it. I think it's it'd be cheaper to build a new house than save that house there and bring it up to code. So that's just my thought. But I am kind of sad about losing like the community space that we were going to have in the town hall first floor. I thought that was going to be really beneficial for the town. So I get it why we'd put different things down there, but it's unfortunate we would lose some of the perks that I think people are missing on. But I do agree, the last time around we were rushed. It wasn't ideal, but we had to throw something down. And I am not shocked, like Tony, that it was voted down.
Right. Thanks, Christina. And by the way, the idea is that the first floor would be, still be able to use for community things. That's why the idea of if as much as we can movable walls, so you could create smaller conference rooms or whatever you need for the specific moment per se. I think we've all been in businesses or in a building or a hotel ballroom where they have walls that move and they cut half the room off and they can have 2 meetings at once. I'm sure we could do the same thing. It's not that expensive, but okay, guys.
Hey, Dave, one
Go ahead.
other thing. I wanted to make sure I didn't, people said this, and I want to make sure I didn't belittle it, because as I was thinking, Tony said something earlier about, I'm paraphrasing, but for the $2 million that we spend every year for capital improvements, and I'm making the number up, if someone says, geez, what's our priority list? You can actually pull out a document that is a itemized priority list. And Tony said this exact same thing, but I want to just make sure that everybody knows I'm in complete agreement with this, even if I don't think it's our board's purview, but I do think it's very important. I think that now we're talking about borrowing whatever, like to Tony's point, 150 million, maybe it's 100 million, maybe it's 75, but it's way more money than we're talking about with the capital plans. We ought to have a priorities list. Like it's really, the town really should take a should make that a priority, put that together, because you know, it does seem crazy that we can prioritize, you know, 40 and $50,000 capital improvement items, but we can't prioritize multi-million-dollar construction projects that are going to be asking a lot more out of the tax, you know, extra out of the taxpayer. So I want to make sure I went on record that I totally agree with that, and I think we should participate in the discussion. I'm just not certain that it's our task to lead, but
Dave?
Yes, yes,
If
Tony.
it's not, I think the problem that we've had in selling these projects is that no one has done that prioritization.
yeah, you're right.
And I think, hey, I'm on the master plan steering committee. Maybe what we do is at our next steering committee, I say, hey, gang, let's make a priority for projects. I don't want to do that. I think that this is a conversation that we ought to have with the select board again, that we go back to them and say, if it's not us, is it you? If it's not you, who is it?
Who is it?
We can't sell this project until we have some sort of a prioritization. Now we have one of the nice things about having done what we did is that we have some decent costs on new versus, you know, renovation costs. And I think that, and we now have an engineer's estimate that says repair Turkey Hill, not build a new one. I mean, so I think that there's a lot of data. I don't disagree with this. Goes back to what I've been saying is that we got to start out big with a priority list, and then this committee can do its job of focusing on creating better town administrative functions.
Yeah, I mean, what if the priorities list comes in and we're fifth?
And we won't be.
Like I know we won't be, but what if we were? What do we?
Yeah, I know. That's exactly right.
Well,
Then we put
let's
it
just-
on pause. That it's not a
that's my
priority.
point. That's my point. Like
we don't meet as often.
And I
Then
don't,
we're not
and I don't think
wasting
we're going to be.
time.
I don't think we're going to be fifth. We're going to be first or second. But I'm just saying it's an excellent point, and we need to drive. I think our committee should, to the extent we're not in the driver's seat, we should try to facilitate the discussion so that it gets up, that it's dealt with at the town level.
It also, to your point, it also will really increase our chances of winning a vote if we can increase public trust by saying, here's what's planned for the long term. It's not, okay, we're going to push this on you again, but in another 2 years, we're coming back for something else. I think it would really, really help with the trust, because that was one of my issues with it for years was, well, how does this fit into the bigger plan? Where's this going? And like, now that I follow things a little more, it's less of a concern for me personally, but I think that it would help with the public at large and building trust and saying, yeah, we have a plan. This is how we're going to get it done. And if this vote fails, we're pushing everything back. And that's not great either.
The issue is with it is the select board doesn't have any authority over the schools. So the renovation to the schools is up to the school committee. So, you know, the master planning team is kind of a good place to have it. But it's a difficult thing. I think it's pretty clear beyond the stuff we're talking about, the next item that is on the agenda is Turkey Hill. I guess it's the biggest ticket item and the most urgent. But there are other ones down the line too. So we should talk about all those and kind of get an idea, get a plan. Now, 5 years from now, that plan might change, but we need to get all the people, the select board, the school committee, and the finance committee, and this committee, and the master plan. Everybody has to kind of come up with an agreement that we think as of today, this is what we think.
Someone has to call the question, Tom. I don't disagree with Dave and the other comments that this may be out of the scope for us, But we can't be a successful salesman for this town administrative project without someone calling that question.
I agree.
I agree. I think we all agree. I think that it's the big thing is that yes, this is kind of looking at the more as a holistic. In fact, it was interesting because, right, if this committee started as TC Passios only, for those folks who are still doing this for that many years, it was TC Passios only. Then it became Ritter and Town Hall only. Then Brooks House got thrown in there, that kind of thing. So things changed for us, but we were almost this catch-all committee that got told this is what, whatever it was, whatever the shiny penny was of the moment. I do agree that we need to be working as a team, and that's in the end, the town people need to know that there is a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plan for this town. And that would, and like I say, any long-term resident of this town would be amazed if that ever happened. I mean, if you guys want to, I mean, this town is, and that's always been the problem. We come up with these wonderful ideas and then nothing's ever followed through with the master plan committee type of thing and things like that. So I think this is a great time to do that. All right. So I appreciate the conversation today. This I felt was very helpful for a lot of folks, and hopefully got folks up to speed as to what was going on and what we would like, how I'm thinking as your newly elected chair, how I'm thinking of the direction for this committee. What I'd like to be able to do, I think that, what we came up with is I'll talk to the town manager, I'll talk to the superintendent, see about, setting up a schedule for that, for whether it would be well, I would look to be able to schedule a in-person walkthrough with things. On that note, I'm also looking at is that a lot of us, a lot of people don't always have time during the day or might not have time during a certain evening. So I'd like for our next meeting, we start coming up with our questionnaire for the different departments. What's the questionnaire? Is there a certain set of, I'd like to be able to have it where we have a certain set of questions, the same, whatever it is, 5, 10, 15 questions that goes to every single one. And therefore we can look at it as apples and apples. And when we're seeing them, we're asking them the same things and the things that we think would be, help us with these decisions right now. So I'd look for us to, guys, to be thinking about that, what kind of questions you would like to be asking them. We can set that up for the next meeting when we get together, setting up that set of questions and hopefully setting up a schedule to start going through and chatting with people if we can.
Hey, Dave, I can't remember who said it, but whoever said it, I'm in complete agreement. It does seem appropriate that we at least reach out to the town manager, and ask her how she would, and get her opinion on what the involvement she would like to be in that, because I do see the point. Like, if you go, even if we come up with real good questions and if those aren't being, if we ask like how different departments want to see the space independent of the management, I feel like it probably should be triaged through one central. And I get that we're the committee to do that, but I almost feel like programmatically we should at least reach out to the town manager,
Greg,
and see
if
she wants to be directly involved in that. Maybe she doesn't, but
no, I'm
maybe she does.
I'm gonna look at it as that we're coming up with a set of questions and things that we feel are important, and that we're going to be reviewing those with the town manager and the
good. Okay.
superintendent,
Yeah.
and having them I look for them to set the schedule up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
And this way they can say whether we meet with the administration people or whether we meet with just the management people or whatever. They're going to do it the way, we're going to let them kind of go through the process. We're going to have their buy-in with everything.
My sense is, in terms of efficiency, we could bringing Jen in will be helpful from an efficiency standpoint too. She'll probably have a good suggestion on how to do this process efficiently, I would imagine. So
I would
Right.
agree
I
too.
think
I just wanted to
that
throw
was-
in too that Chris Ruth, Jen had mentioned Chris Ruth, the facilities director too, would be a vital part to this too. I think he'll be a great addition too, as much as he can help out.
that's true
Correct.
too.
And I'm gonna look, so we'll be working with Chris to set up a date, set up a time and day to walk through the buildings for us, even if it's not as much to, even if it's just to observe, but it's also to see the structure, to see what's going on, to see what it looks like, and for all three buildings. I don't know if I want to disrupt as a large group, start disrupting each department on that same day. But it's the idea would be, this would be more of just looking at the facility that we're dealing with to start off with and things of that sort.
Yeah, the challenge to that is we've already done that several times. So I feel like at this point we're kind of like
Oh, I'm sorry. I never got invited to walk through town hall.
oh yeah, we did that as part of we did this just last year for sure. And I'm sure we did it several times in the
Well,
preceding years, but
We weren't invited as a committee to do that, Greg.
oh, okay.
And I
That might
went
be
along.
the case.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's gonna take up a lot of time, and we're
Yeah.
not gonna be knocking down walls and,
Oh yeah.
I think it's just
No,
a
I'm not
question of us getting a sense of the space in the building. It would be a minor inconvenience if we can pick a good
Yeah.
time and all that.
Yeah.
And
I
I think it
agree.
would be good we have new members on the committee, so that would be nice to do.
I
Yeah,
can't.
Well, I didn't realize it wasn't a committee.
It was-
That the entire committee didn't get invited.
No, we
They
did.
just let you walk around town hall. They just let you in. They're like, come on, tour it.
We did a day last.
We did that with Robert Taylor and his
Yeah.
engineering staff.
Yeah,
That was
and there
interesting.
was that's right. Yeah, you were there, Tony. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Oh,
And I
And,
invited
so
myself.
this is something that the chair went to, but he didn't invite anybody else. Okay.
He
All right.
did, no, he did invite Greg.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
we can do,
I guess I didn't realize it was just.
He was the teacher's pet.
it was
I
just
don't
for you.
Yeah.
We can
Oh,
do, instead of
okay.
making it a posted meeting, if two of us go at a time.
Yeah, I'm
could do that.
saying what I would look is that with Chris, I'd set up like, say, 3 dates. Tell me which day works best for you, and we'll keep the group small for each date, because there are, we know that there are town employees still working at least one evening a week per se. So there's a possibility to do maybe there's a possibility that evening we can have it for those folks who can't make it before 5 o'clock on, during the week or something like that. Because I like everybody to be able to see it while people are in it, not as an empty space. You know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah, that makes a difference.
especially so we can also see which paperwork might, some of the paperwork that's been sitting there for a while and things of that sort. So, okay.
Does
Oh, I
anybody
should-
know where the term bullpen came from?
I want to say Carter brought that up, didn't he?
Carter told me that I heard him say that 15 minutes after he watched the first presentation of Taylor and Burns as a recorded meeting. He called me up and he says, "Oh my God, this ain't gonna work." He goes, "We need bullpens. We don't have enough staff for individual offices." That's the first time. That was like in December.
And
that's
what
I
yeah.
I
And this
Go ahead,
is
Matt.
actually what you said, Greg. We need the staff. We need to have the staff tell us what they want.
Yeah.
But staff means Jen and Dr.
Yeah.
Fortuna.
Yeah,
And if
that's
they want to
right.
bring
Yeah.
some minions along,
Yeah.
bring some staff along, great,
I agree with that.
I'm gonna be frank, and maybe lacking some of my usual decorum. I don't have much care what Carter thought we needed. And now having operated in government for some time before him, after him, and under him within the Ritter building, it's nice that he had opinions, but we're under new management and I think we're better for it. So
No, I'm not disagreeing, but so let's look at, so now my next question, because I'm getting up to my hour, 90 minutes, and anybody who knows my meetings knows that that's my cutoff. Okay, after 90 minutes, your time is yours, back to you. So are you guys willing to meet September 29th? Monday, September 29th?
On me.
Good.
All right.
That
because
works.
I am looking at my calendar quickly. I think that is not, yep, planning's the 22nd, so 29th is great.
I guess I should have asked, does anybody have a problem with the 29th? Tom, you're on, okay, you're on mute, but that's, I see the thumb, so we're doing good. Great. So I guess I'm gonna end up setting up a meeting, another meeting for the 29th. Like I say, I'll at that time, I'm gonna look for Jen, I'm gonna look for a few other folks to possibly join that meeting, even if it's just for a few minutes, just to talk about, a little bit about, I'm gonna look for Jen and Dr. Fortuna to basically maybe get, give them some time, and I'll give them whatever time that they say. If they say, oh, I can make it at 6 o'clock, fine. If we're in the middle of discussion, boom, 6 o'clock, we move to them. And then the same thing, if one says 6:30, fine, boom, we move to them, because, I want to honor their time, but we're going to let me keep these meetings at an hour and a half max. And, I'm not going to look for a cadence of every other week, but I'd like to get this thing started and, kick it off, and be able to have something. The goal that I'm going to look for at the end is that we almost lay out a footprint for this building. We have a footprint that we're going to develop to hand to an architect to make it look pretty. Okay, but the footprint will be bought off by by the town manager, by the superintendent. It'll have public discussion beforehand, all those wonderful things for the interior footprint. And then it's just going to be make it look pretty for an architect and go from there. If hopefully everybody would like, I think everybody that I've seen it in this committee for a while would like to see that. And I just want to make it a success, guys. I want to, let's make this a success and get this damn thing done. After all, it's only been what, Greg, for how many, Greg, Christina, when did we start? How many years ago?
2019.
Yeah, I think we were still talking to each other in person at that time when we first met.
Yeah, we were.
Okay, so
for sure.
to give you guys an idea of how long it's been. So we're ready, if nothing else. Anybody have any comments, questions, or anything like that? Yes,
So
Laura.
after the meeting with the select board, which seems like forever ago, I realized that I'd never actually seen PAC's offices. So I went down to PAC's offices, which have now moved, but in the TCP room, to see which rooms they were utilizing and how they were utilizing it. And I got a tour of the space they were about to move into the next week, which I found very helpful. They were using 2 large classrooms. One was their studio and editing suite, and the other one was all storage, because they have a lot of about half of it was storage. So it was good to see that too, and how PAC is using their space now versus what we were trying to give them with the town hall basement.
All right, thanks, Laura. I appreciate that. The only thing I worry about with Passios is that, and having been in this committee since the beginning, then every classroom is 1,000 square feet.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody uses a classroom. Nobody was told they only can have half a classroom. So, and the deal. If you have if somebody says here's 1,000 square feet, you're going to find a way to use it. You're not going to sit there at 500 of them. So,
oh yeah. But it was interesting to go see the way they were using it, because it wasn't how I had pictured it, because I didn't know what their studio looked like.
Oh,
so
agree. And like I say, I do feel that it's, where we need to be. The biggest thing I feel is we need to be the interviewers. This committee needs to be the interviewers and understand what's going on, more than anything else. I think we have a lot of facts already to base it on, of what they told us in the past. And so I will send out to everybody. Greg, do you remember, what they gave us from the last group? They gave us like a comprehensive thing of what they talked to different departments. We still have that, right?
From like the first time, I can't remember who it was. DeGiorgio, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So we have that. I'll
have that. Yeah.
I'll look to forward that to everybody so that you'll have an idea of what the departments told us back then that they needed.
Yeah,
and
tr-
space needs.
that's probably a good starting point. We might even be able to glean what their questions were and things. Not that we're
Exactly.
going to use them, but we could use it as a starting point.
Yeah.
Can I see that? Do we have a shared drive
No,
or?
we don't have a shared drive. We don't have a shared drive. I'll see about trying to set that up. Man, oh man. Why do I keep volunteering?
Wasn't it on the website? Because I remember
I
seeing
think
it,
it
'cause
might be
that's
on the
what
website.
the
Yeah.
first TCP, that's what we went off of for that. But then second time around, we said this, they said they wanted too much and we had to bring it down.
Okay.
It used to be on the website. I don't know if it's still there, but I probably
well-
have a copy of the final report too that I could probably send out
All right,
electronically. So
Greg, if you have it, fine. If not,
you
I'll
want
look for it
me to
too.
distribute it to the committee?
Yes, if you don't mind,
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. All right, so on that note, do I hear any kind of any other thoughts, comments, or do I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we need to have public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we need to have public comment? Is there a comment for the public? Give a minute for folks to go off mute.
Put your hand up if you do.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Dave Rogers, 82 Highland Street.
Okay, Mr. Rogers, welcome.
Thank you. Very interesting discussions and a lot of good points. My candid opinion on this whole thing is, and it's not an epiphany or anything, but the rank and file people in Lunenburg are going to vote their pocketbooks. And so I would strongly suggest that you have Mr. Ruth indicate what might possibly be coming down the pike and add all the other things that might be coming down the pike, because this is all have to be added to whatever the number is for the new construction and renovation, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that this isn't an original thought, but as we go on, everything is going to be more expensive, and I just think that the folks in Lunenburg will vote their pocketbooks. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rogers. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Anybody else? All right then, guys. Seeing we're all set there. Anybody want to do a motion?
I did a motion. We need a second now.
I'll second.
All right, very good. Okay, roll call vote. Tony,
Aye.
Greg, Brian,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Christina,
Hi.
Tom,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and an aye from Dave. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for the time. Sorry, I guess I started 5 minutes late, so sorry I went a little bit over, but we'll talk to you all on the 29th. Thanks again for everything.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Dave.
All right,
I
take care.
know.
Good night.